Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, 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 take the red. You stay in Wonderland. You stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Goes, 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 goes,
Now, from sunny South Florida, it's the Red Pill Reality Show with your host, Riscalla. Every Saturday night from 9 p.m. to midnight on the L&M Network. And now, your host, Riscalla.
Well, hello and welcome, everyone. It is the Red Pill Reality Show, an honor and a privilege to be with you. I am your host, Riscalla, and shortly, I believe, I will have my co-host on with me, the one and only Angel Strong, an amazing young lady. Her insight always, it just doesn't cease to amaze me. We have had so many things happening this last week. It truly is, gotta say that it's like the end times with all this stuff happening with regard to the Mueller report and what has happened after the Mueller report with the Barr report and what has happened with the Barr report. And we just can't seem to let things go, apparently. We've come to what anyone else would declare a final decision, but there are those who believe that for whatever reason, that can't be final. There has to be something wrong. We must find something in order to impeach this president on. And my question to them is, what are you going to impeach him on? We've got the lowest unemployment rate, I believe, in decades, possibly in for some categories of people, Hispanics and people of color and things of that nature, maybe in the history of the country. We have more financial power around the world today because of him. People have a lot more respect for this country because of Donald Trump. There's a lot of positive things that he has done for the country, unlike many others who have come before him and did it for themselves or a small group of people. He is basically doing it for him, for his country. Not getting paid for it. It is amazing. When you think about it, it really is amazing that this man who is clearly has the financial wherewithal to go off somewhere and say, the hell with all of you people, I don't need this. I got a young son that I can spend a lot of time with rather than sit here and be put through the mill constantly day in and day out and not even get paid. That says a lot about the character of the man. So we have people on the other side of the aisle, the Democrats and some Republicans as well, they're only Republican in name anyway, decide that that's not enough, that the Mueller report is not the end of the investigation, that it must be further investigated, that we must continue to resist this president, and that is the entire goal of many of these Democrats. That's pretty sad if you think about it. It really is pretty sad. We had 2 years of investigation, $30 some odd million worth of money spent. God knows how many people they spoke to, a team of over 40 investigators. Nobody could come up with enough evidence to indict the man. What does that tell you? When people have spent that kind of time and money and come up with nothing, and then others say that's not enough. And then the person that gives the basic overall outlook of the report, they lose their credibility because the information that they come out with is not acceptable to these people. My question is, how long do we allow this to continue? This is really one of the worst possible. You talk about putting our country in danger. You think them blocking him at the wall is just is putting our country in? That's just a part of what is going on. That's just almost a tip of the iceberg of what is going on. Other countries look at what is going on here and see the internal fight that is going on and look at it as an opportunity for them to introduce some of their values. It amazes me as people witness what is happening in Venezuela. They continuously push for more socialism in this country. And there are people from Venezuela who have basically given an outline of what they did to them, promised them this, promised them that, you won't need guns, we're going to take care of you, blah, 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 blah. And now we have people dead in the street. Many of the young people are dying in Venezuela because they have the wherewithal to stand for what they believe in, which is freedom. And we have college students here who are so well educated, they hold banners with communist emblems. Revolution to socialism, some of them are saying. Those of you who sit back idly and just watch what's going on, you're part of the problem. You might find that offensive, but that's the truth. There is no place any longer for anybody, I can't even get the word out, for anybody to sit back and do nothing. There are opportunities day in and day out for people to stand up for what is right, what we know is right. And yet they remain silent. And that is adding to this problem. Can you imagine how much worse off we would be today? Look at what they're doing today, and yet we have a president who is supporting the people, and yet they are still threatening to attack our very God-given rights. Out in the open. It's out in the open. They're not pretending. They're not doing it secretly. They're telling you to your face, if I become president, I'm going to confiscate your guns. And if you don't give them to me, I'm going to send men with guns after you to get your guns. What do you think that means? That's a call for war. And they're in your face about it. They don't care any longer. For people to sit idly by and do nothing while all of this is going on, to just, he's just blowing smoke. Yeah, well, fine. A lot of people were just blowing smoke, and that smoke turned into a real fire. And many died. How about we take it right now while it's just blowing smoke and take care of it right now and not allow it to go any further? Nobody's holding these people responsible for some of the things that they're saying. Open verbal threats against the president. At any time prior to this man becoming president, anybody who did anything of that nature would have gotten a minimum of a visit from the Secret Service, a minimum. It truly is disturbing that people, I don't know who I'm more upset with. These people who are supposed to be representatives in our, quote, government, who are doing nothing but fighting with each other, and we're getting little to... Imagine how much more we'd get done. Imagine how much better our lives would be if these people would quit bickering. But their whole agenda is nothing more than to overthrow a legally elected president, and they have been caught with their hands in the cookie jar. And they're doing everything that they possibly can to see to it that nobody holds them responsible. And the sad part is there are people out there who believe them. Believe them to the point that they're going to vote for these people again and return them back to office one more time. In the 2020 election, if I'm not mistaken, the majority of the Congress and the majority of the Senate is going to be available. They are not running for re-election. So are we going to allow more garbage to come in? Or are we going to take this bull by the horns and make a firm decision and start putting people in there that are going to represent us in our best interest and remove these dirtbags? Sorry excuses for a representative. My gosh. I think it... No, I won't say that. It truly is disturbing. Again, I don't know who I'm more disturbed with. The people who are carrying on like the rear end of a jackass, or the people that continue to allow them to do it. I don't know what's worse. All I know is it has to come to an end. All I know is that the equation includes you and me in order for this to stop. Even the president himself has stated that it is going to be us. Not him, not his administration, but us that overcomes this garbage that has enthroned itself into, unfortunately, quite a bit of the power structure of our country. As long as we remain silent, they continue to get their consent. It's that simple. I, for one, I refuse to be silent. I'm just laughing because of a little incident that happened the other day. Last night, I think it was. A police officer followed my daughter home because the headlight had just gone out on her car. And she called me on the phone. She goes, Dad, come outside. There's a cop following me. I think he's going to pull me over. I said, just drive on and wait for the lights to come on. If the lights come on, keep driving slowly. If you're just a couple of houses away, pull in. So I walk outside, and I see the car coming down the road, and I see the police car behind her. And she pulls in, and he stops. And I went over there and had a brief discussion with him. He was very, very cordial, very polite. Just said that he was going to give her a warning, and I said she's a little frustrated because she just got a warning like 20 minutes earlier. Apparently had just gotten, the headlight had just gone out. And so they were looking out for her best interest. And so what I was laughing about was I thanked the officer for, because he was very polite and very professional. I thanked him for, what he was kind of looking out for my daughter because she only had one headlight. And he says, well, we need more people like you. And my daughter bursts out, oh, he tells all kinds of people all the time he's on the radio. So she and me. So I get a little bit of embarrassment from her. But he's found out that he's a neighborhood cop. He's, when I was growing up, it was like very, very similar to where I am right now. The difference was, as I remember growing up, it was a place called Coral Gables inside of Miami. We had 6 cops that were in charge of our, quote, my neighborhood, which is quite a large area. And of the 6 cops, it would be 2 cops, 8-hour shifts, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Of the 6, we had 2 cops that were they just weren't nice. They just weren't very nice. But the other 4 were great guys, really, really great guys. They were neighborhood cops. They knew where we lived. I'll give you an example. They caught us at 14 years old. They caught my friend driving his mom's car. His mom had left her car at work. Back up a minute. His mom had left her car at home. She had a friend of hers that gave her a ride to work that day, and he knew where the keys were. So we decided we'd go joyriding. And we were out joyriding in the car when one of the police officers, the neighborhood cops, saw us and knew right off the bat. These cops knew how old we were. They knew where we lived. They knew our parents. And pulled us over. Nobody went to jail. They didn't call a SWAT team. Didn't have a helicopter. None of that stuff. He told the 3 of us that were passengers in the vehicle, you go home and you tell your parents that Chuck, my friend, took his mom's car without her permission, and you were riding in the car. And for me, that was a death sentence for me with my dad. I was crying. I don't know, 14, 15 years old. My dad's going to whip my butt if he found out that I was in someone else's car that didn't have permission to have the car, and they weren't old enough, and they didn't have a driver's license, and on and on and on. So the difference from then, what happened back then was, and he told Chuck, what Chuck had to do was he had to leave the car in the driveway, because when his mom left, the car was in the garage. So when his mom came home, obviously the car's in the driveway, something happened. That's how they dealt with us back then. They didn't make a mountain out of a molehill, if you will. They had a degree of wherewithal on how to deal with, kids doing what could have been a very tragic thing. It's not like we were running around like, speeding and stuff, but we were just joyriding. We were doing the speed limit. We weren't acting crazy or anything like that. He saw the car. He knew who was supposed to be driving the car, and it wasn't the person driving wasn't the person supposed to be driving the car. I mean, that's what I'm saying. These are neighborhood cops. They knew quite a bit about what was going on. So I found out that we have, here where I'm at, we have at least one that I'm aware of now is a neighborhood cop. He's here from, he runs a midnight shift, so probably from 4 to midnight or something like that, that this guy's here. Gave me a card, introduced himself, and told me that he was the guy that works in the neighborhood. So I'm very grateful for that. And I do support a lot of the police officers. Unfortunately, there are those of them out there that have badges and think they're bad you-know-whats, but hopefully karma will catch up to them eventually, because it really makes it dangerous for everybody when we have police officers that are not respectable, let's try that one more time. We do have a problem when we have police officers who are not respective of our rights, and many of them don't even know. It really is sad. I think police officers take a 6-month training to become a police officer. Nurses and ETs and stuff like that have to go for 2 years. So it takes you 2 years to learn how to save somebody's life, with 6 months in order to take somebody's life. So a lot of it is in the system, and the system has a lot of cleaning up to do. And we are doing that gradually. I heard 9, I think it was, 9 names, and I'm looking for them feverishly as I'm speaking about them, and I can't find them. 9 names that came up for a criminal referral. Let's see if I can find it. It was 9 names that came up for criminal referral, and one of them was Clinton Schiff, if I remember right. Oh my goodness, why can't I find it? It was a couple of others, and for the life of me, I can't find it right now. How embarrassing. I usually line this stuff up before the show, and I had it lined up, and that's another crazy thing about what goes on where I live here. We had one of those quick, brownouts. Now, I've got my computer's plugged into a battery backup. So if we have a brownout or if we have a blackout, my computer stays on for probably good 10 or 15 minutes, long enough for me to properly shut everything down so that when the power comes on, I can turn it back on. But that's not true for the modem and the supplier, my internet service provider. The power goes out on their end as well when the power goes out here. And that's what happened today. We had one of those flickering power outages, which is the worst that you can get. And so I had to go back, and the pages that I had open were, well, they're now lost. Now I can't find anything. So hopefully I'll be able to bring that up. Meanwhile, Angel tells me she's out of town and her phone is being searched for. God bless her. She's searching for her phone, so we may yet have her come on. So hopefully she'll find her phone in the interim of all of that. Anyway, back to this idea that I didn't get my way, and so I'm going to resist in whatever way I can until either you break down or I break down, because that's really what we're at this point in this country. They didn't win the election, and that set off an entire event of hatred. I mean, I just couldn't believe how much hatred was being spewed, and yet being blamed on the other side. This is one of their modus operandi, if you will. Whatever it is that you're guilty of, you blame the other side for that. And they were spewing hate and violence and then claiming that it was Donald Trump and his followers. Now, there were instances where Trump supporters weren't very nice, I'll put it to you that way. But that wasn't the rule. That wasn't the general rule. The general rule was the opposite of that. But the general rule on their side was to spew hate, violence, and unacceptance of the outcome of the will of the people. And you notice that you may have heard talk about them wanting to stop the Electoral College. Without the Electoral College, somewhere like, let's just say California, for example, whatever California wanted would be whatever California got for the entire nation. So if they wanted Hillary Clinton and the rest of the nation voted against her, we would get Hillary Clinton. That's the way that would work. Without the Electoral College, each state loses its ability to balance out who is going to be the, quote, leader, the president of the country. Because you have areas like New York, California, and a couple of other states that have a massive population. And unfortunately, they could be the deciding factor for the rest of the 50 states. Now, if that's what you want, then go ahead and abolish the Electoral College. But I will tell you that if you want your vote to truly count, the Electoral College needs to be left alone. This is another game that they're playing in order to try to fix it so they win again. They want to remove the president's name from the ballot in California until they want to remove his name from the ballot in California for the 2020 election because he will not reveal his tax returns. Understand, there's no law that says he needs to reveal his tax returns. I would like to see the tax returns of the politicians that have been there for decades, particularly a few of them who were near bankruptcy. Those were the words out of their mouth. And now they're worth hundreds of millions of dollars. They never sold a product, a service that I'm aware of they didn't provide. They're not investors that I'm aware of. So where did that money come from? Why don't we asking about an audit of their records? You understand that this president, now I got to tell you before I go further, some of you are going to say, oh, he's a bootlicker for President Trump. I support the man and I respect the man because I know that the man could easily go walk away and tell us all to just give us the flip and say the hell with you. But he doesn't, and he does it for free. And one of the greatest sacrifices that the man makes is he gives time to us versus time with his son. That's something he will never get back, ever. Now, having said that, he's made some decisions I don't care for. But I don't know of anybody that has ever been in political office that I'm in 100% agreement with. He's recently made some statements about vaccines that concern me deeply. He's also made some statements about us being involved in Venezuela. That bothers me. I don't want to be in any more wars. We have our hands full with wars. If anything, I want to stop these wars. He was on the track to do that a while back. I don't hear much about that anymore. Now, having said that, I don't agree with him in those areas. I do agree with him that he has done a jam-up job helping our country get back on its feet stronger than probably has to be decades, maybe in the history of the country. We are stronger financially now than in at least in decades. He has gotten more accomplished in a small, short period of time. With all the resistance that has been against him, he has still accomplished an unbelievable amount to help the country. Again, some of the things he's done I don't particularly care for. But then again, I'm not privy to the information he has. So it's easy for me to sit back and go, oh, I'd have never done that. I don't know. I'm not there. All I know is on the general overall picture of things, he's done a great job. And I can't imagine how much better it would be if he wasn't hit with some kind of blockage at every corner that he turns. We still have a long way to go in this country, and people think that it's going to be Trump that saves us. I'm sorry, but you're in for a rude awakening. Because if one man could have done the job, Obama would have done that. The one thing I will give credit to that individual for, I bite my tongue. I bite my tongue hard, I'll tell you. I will give him credit for he did a jam-up job of trying to destroy this country. I will give him credit for that. Other than that, he deserves the gallows. And it is my prayer that one day he will see them. Him and the others before him. He's not the only one. And he's not the only president. All right, let me cool down a little bit. Let's hear from the president for a minute here. And just want to remind people, this is what this president stands for.
Our movement is about replacing a failed and corrupt political establishment with a new government controlled by you, the American people. The Washington establishment and the financial and media corporations that fund it exist for only one reason: to protect and enrich itself. The establishment has trillions of dollars at stake in this election. For those who control the levers of power in Washington and for the global special interest, they partner with these people that don't have your good in mind. Our campaign represents a true existential threat like they haven't seen before. This is not simply another 4-year election. This is a crossroads in the history of our civilization that will determine whether or not we, the people, reclaim control over our government. The political establishment that is trying to stop us is the same group responsible for our disastrous trade deals, massive illegal immigration, and economic and foreign policies that have bled our country dry. The political establishment has brought about the destruction of our factories and our jobs as they flee to Mexico, China, and other countries all around the world. It's a global power structure that is responsible for the economic decisions that have robbed our working class, stripped our country of its wealth, and put that money into the pockets of a handful of large corporations and political entities. This is a struggle for the survival of our nation, and this will be our last chance to save it. This election will determine whether we're a free nation or whether we have only the illusion of democracy, but are in fact controlled by a small handful of global special interests rigging the system, and our system is rigged. This is reality. You know it, they know it, I know it, and pretty much the whole world knows it. The Clinton machine is at the center of this power structure. We've seen this firsthand in the WikiLeaks documents, in which Hillary Clinton meets in secret with international banks to plot the destruction of U.S. sovereignty in order to enrich these global financial powers, her special interest friends, and her donors. Honestly, she should be locked up. The most powerful weapon deployed by the Clintons is the corporate media, the press. Let's be clear on one thing. The corporate media in our country is no longer involved in journalism. They're a political special interest, no different than any lobbyist or other financial entity with a total political agenda, and the agenda is not for you, it's for themselves. Anyone who challenges their control is deemed a sexist, a racist, a xenophobe. They will lie, and then again, they will do worse than that. They will do whatever is necessary. The Clintons are criminals, remember that. This is well documented, and the establishment that protects them has engaged in a massive cover-up of widespread criminal activity at the State Department and the Clinton Foundation in order to keep the Clintons in power. They knew they would throw every lie they could at me and my family and my loved ones. They knew they would stop at nothing to try to stop me. Nevertheless, I take all of these slings and arrows gladly for you. I take them for our movement so that we can have our country back. I knew this day would arrive. It's only a question of when. And I knew the American people would rise above it and vote for the future they deserve. The only thing that can stop this corrupt machine is you. The only force strong enough to save our country is us. The only people brave enough to vote out this corrupt establishment is you, the American people. Our great civilization has come upon a moment of reckoning. I didn't need to do this, folks, believe me. I built a great company, and I had a wonderful life. I could have enjoyed the fruits and benefit of years of successful business deals and businesses for myself and my family, instead of going through this absolute horror show of lies, deceptions, malicious attacks. Who would have thought? I'm doing it because this country has given me so much, and I feel so strongly that it's my turn to give back to the country that I love. I'm doing this for the people and for the movement, and we will take back this country for you, and we will make America great again.
You're listening to the Red Pill Reality Show on the LNM Network. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Do you need toner for your Epson, Hewlett-Packard, Canon, Brother, Apple, or Sharp printers? Look no further than Laser Technologies. In business for over 20 years, they offer the lowest prices on toner on the web. They can also repair your laser printers and toners fast and easy. Call their expert staff today at 561-792-9600 or email us at service@laser-technologies.com for all your toner needs. All toner is shipped nationwide. Why wait? Get the lowest prices on toner. Call or email us today.
Grace has some pretty stellar arms, like Serena Williams good, but her face is pretty disgusting.
Someone please tell him to go back into his closet and leave us alone.
Brittany's face is so stupid and I hate her so much. It's like a scientist created her in a lab to annoy humanity and didn't even do that good of a job.
Megan reminds me of a troll doll that came to life intent on killing us with her stupidity.
Why is Grace's head so big? It definitely has nothing to do with how smart she is and probably everything to do with how bloated she is.
He's so funny. Just kidding. Who would find this disfigured flamingo funny?
Never post a selfie of yourself. You look so ugly.
The only reason you have so many views is because we think you're a freak and we can't look away.
Megan is the main reason that the world sucks so much.
I would rather get cancer than listen to another Trevor Moran song.
You are a mistake. You should have never been born.
Drown yourself in a shallow puddle, please.
Wow, I hope she's sterile.
These really stopped being funny a long time ago.
You're so much more than the things that people say about you.
Those people have no right to say cruel things to you to make themselves feel better.
It's okay that you sound different than everyone else.
That's what makes you so special.
We will not tolerate it. We will not tolerate it.
We will not tolerate it.
We will not tolerate it.
Every day, people make me feel like I stand out simply because of the way that I look.
Every day people make me feel small.
Every day I face the cruel words of bullying.
And every day people tell me that I'm brave for enduring this humiliation.
But we're not the brave ones.
It's the ones that say no to the bullying.
The witnesses.
If we all join together, there's nothing that we can't do. We will no longer be the silent majority.
When we see bullying online,
We will let the world know that we're going to take action with the eye.
Now, when you see online bullying, there's something you can do about it.
Our actions will overpower cruel words.
I am a witness.
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 There is power in words.
But it's nothing compared to the power of the actions that we put behind our words.
Visit eyewitnessbullying.org to learn more.
I am a witness, and so are you.
I'm gonna stand by you.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
We have ignition. Strap in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Píseň od skupiny Led Zeppelin Schody do nebe.
blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, 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 take the red. You stay in Wonderland. You stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
You're listening to the Red Pill Reality Show with your host, Riscalla, every Saturday night on the LNM Network from 9 p.m. to midnight. And now your host, Riscalla.
Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill.
All right, we are back. It is the Red Pill Reality Show, an honor and a privilege to be here with you. I'm still looking for my co-host. She's out there somewhere in Never Ever Land, looking for her phone. How many times do I hear that? Oh my goodness, these phones, the technology it's like, you know, it has become the new umbilical cord. Well, not so new, but it has become the umbilical cord now for our way of life. You can't go anywhere without these silly contraptions with us. The other day I was on a way to a service call. Got about, halfway there. It wasn't close. It wasn't nearby. And one of the things I do is when I'm about 10 or 15 minutes away, I give a call, make sure, hey, listen, I'm 10 or 15 minutes away. I'll be right there. If the machine is turned off, turn it on. Or, you know, if it's on and it's giving you a problem, turn it off, whatever. Just kind of a heads up, hey, I'm, short ways away. I went to get my phone, make the phone call, and in my infinite wisdom, I had left my phone at my office. Oh, God, help me. So, had to turn around, go back. Lost about half an hour's worth of time before it was all over. Between going back to stopping, turning around, going back to the office, heading back out again, making that phone call. So we're kind of an umbilical cord, if you will. We're tied to this thing. My gosh. And someone like me who, my full-time job is I'm an on-site technician. And I provide service. And when it comes to the service industry, if people can't reach you when they need you, they move on. You move on to somebody else. Doesn't matter how well you treated them. Doesn't matter how good you did the last job. They need service. They need it now. They move on. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. And so you need to be able to have people have access to you. And, of course, the easiest way of doing that is with a cell phone. So if you're out there, kind of like having a chocolate shop without chocolate. If you're out there in the service industry and you don't have any way of people get a hold of you, you're on the short end of the stick, if you will. On the receiving end of the stick, anyway. Or it could be you're on the long end of the big stick. Somebody's going to whip you up. Anyway, let me get back to some of these things that I wanted to address tonight. One of the other things I wanted to talk about tonight was there's more and more talk about gun control. I mentioned earlier one of these guys, I don't know if it's a boot gag guy, whatever it's a butt gag, boot gag, whatever his name is. There's one of them, him or Beto, the Beto man, have openly said that if we're going to get your guns, and if you don't give them to us, we're going to send men with guns to get your guns. And they say that, and they use things like, well, your best interest is the security of our society, blah, 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 blah. Well, I went to a website called concealedcarry.com, and this is what I found. I found that numbers don't lie, and when they don't lie, we can sit back and relax a little bit more, knowing that the decision for many of us to carry a firearm is valid now more than ever before. I found at concealedcarry.com, they had recently put together some infographics that show statistical data released by the FBI on active shooter events. So basically what they said was there was about 283 incidents over an 18-year period. An armed citizen was present at 33 of them. That's just shy of 12%. Of those 33 incidents where an armed citizen was present, they were able to stop the incident from continuing 75.8% of the time. Additionally, they were successful in reducing the number of lives lost 18.2% of the time. Also, of all of these incidents, there was never a time that an armed citizen had injured or killed an innocent person. So when they talk about banning guns, you can't have this and you can't have that, they're talking about the very same people that would step up when they see something going down, like a shooting. They would step up and put their lives on the line in order to stop that individual. What they're saying is, we don't want you around. We don't want people like you around. We don't want you to have the ability to defend yourself as well as others, and we're going to take it from you. In your face. They're not beating around the bush. They're in your face. Meanwhile, the people are just, oh, well, it's okay. No, it's not okay. It's not okay. It's not going to be okay. As long as we permit these people to continue doing what they're doing, it's not going to be okay. Imagine how much worse it would be. This coming election is going to be, I know people, this is so old, but I got to tell you, more than ever, I am absolutely 100% positive this is going to make it or break it for America. We're either going to take this bull by the horns and we're going to take control of this thing, or we're going to allow it to take control of us. I told you earlier, California wants to remove the president's name from the ballot because he won't release his tax returns. How does that disqualify him when it's not a legal requirement? How does that disqualify him from having his name on the ballot? There are other states who want to do the same thing. These are primarily liberal states that don't want this man as president because he goes against their agenda, and their agenda is open borders, higher taxes, impeach Trump, and take your guns. And he doesn't go for that. He has openly declared that he will protect the Second Amendment to the best of his ability. Without the God-given right to defend ourselves, it wouldn't be long before we are like Venezuela. They were one of the richest countries. Just a couple of them, maybe it was 50 years ago. I was going to say maybe 20 or 30, but I think it's more like 50. Sometimes time for me is such a blur. But they were one of the top, I think they were the richest country in South America. And if I'm not mistaken, their currency was second only to the U.S. dollar. That's how short of a period of time it took for them to be very well off into fighting in the streets and people literally dying, being run over. I watched one video where an armored car literally ran over a group of people. Just purposely turned right in, knew where they were, and just turned right into them. Unarmed people. These are armored vehicles. What can an unarmed person do to an armored vehicle? Kick it? Punch it? What a joke. They ran them over. Another article I saw pictured what appeared to be at least 40 or 50 young men dead, laid out in the street, protesting this government that has just run amok. Sound familiar? Just like someone else we know. Now the difference is we haven't gone completely over the edge yet. And there are people out there who believe we are very, very close. I'm one of them. This president has done the best he can to put the brakes on, but look at what they're doing to him. And everybody that supports him, look at what they're doing to them. Meanwhile, the American people are sitting back and going, rah, 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 USA, USA, USA. All the good that's going to do you when these people overrun everything that this particular administration is trying to do, because there's no input from you. He said himself, I played you the clip. The only people who are going to be able to win this is us. He didn't say me. He said us, the American people. He knows better than anyone else. It isn't him that can do it. It is us. Big difference. And it's time for us to step up to the plate and do what is required. These people want to rewrite the Constitution. This is like going into a game, knowing the rules ahead of time. You didn't win, so now you want to rewrite the rules so that you can win. That's insane. And you want to let the people who have fought so hard and so long in order to maintain this country the way that it was, just allow them to, sweep them under the rug? They never existed. This is what they're doing today, erasing our history. They find these statues offensive, and they want to rip them down. What about all these people walking around with their pants halfway down to their knees? That's not offensive, and their underwear's hanging out and showing skid marks? It's disgusting. But that's okay. That's okay. We want these statues of these racist people torn down. Why? Why not leave them up if they truly were, first of all, one of the biggest dumb rear end of a donkey mistakes was rip down the General Lee statue because he was racist. You bunch of nincompoops. This man stood up for, he was the one who said, if I could free the slaves now, I would free them. He is the one who but this, I laugh because it's so disturbing I would cry. I'm telling you, it's disgusting what's going on. Changing history, changing what's happened in the past to suit a particular agenda so that the future that we come into is a one-world government with a one-world religion, controlled by a one-world small group of people. Actually, it's what's going on right now. It's just going to be in your face more. Forget the idea of being able to defend yourself against them. If we don't stand up now, we will not be able to defend ourselves against these people. It'll just be a bloodbath. Who do you think's got the bigger guns, us or them? Come on. Not going to take a rocket scientist to figure it out. So the only hope that we have is those of us who are armed, and maybe a few who are in the military who truly believe in our country and will support the oath that they took, will stand up. But it's not going to be a lot, I don't think, because many of them have already been brainwashed for the last God knows how many years. So if that's what you want to let it get to, just keep sitting back and being quiet. And don't say anything. And don't be involved. And don't lift your voice out. And don't speak up for what's right. Just sit back. Sit on the sidelines, if you will. Because doing that is picking a side, whether you realize it or not. You're picking their side. You're picking the side of fascism. You're picking the side of socialism. You're picking the side that wants to control us, that are supposed to be free people. So just sit back and remain silent. Everything will be fine. Everything will be okay. Everything will be working out. Because that's what they want you to believe. All right, I think I have my co-host on the line. Did you find your phone? Angel Strong, welcome to the Red Pill Reality Show. Are you there, Angel? Hello, hello. I can't hear you. Uh-oh. I thought I had her, but I can't hear her. Maybe she'll call back in a minute. We'll try it again. So as long as we sit back and we remain silent, we give these psychopathic, sick, parasitic, no good for nothing, sewer-sucking slugs permission. To do whatever it is that they want to do. Let's try it again. Are you there, Angel? I think it's something on my end. Something's not quite right on my end. Let me keep talking to me, Angel. Let me see if I can get you in here. I don't know what happened. Jeez. Okay, hang up and I'll reboot. I'll retry it again. Well, I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties. Don't know exactly what's happened. But we're going to try it again here. Give me a moment. And we will be taking calls. If I can get this thing to work, we'll be taking calls. One more time. See if we can make it work. It's amazing what technology can do nowadays. Yes, no. No, still nothing. Still something wrong here. I will be right with you. There we go. Now we're there. Hello, Angel, and welcome to the Red Pill Reality Show. And in she's out. Come on, girl. Talk to me.
I'm here. Angel has landed.
Hot dog. How are you?
I'm doing great. I think that was God's way of not letting me come in during your underwear commentary. I'm so glad we had a failure to communicate.
Don't you find it weird that these young men can walk around with their pants halfway down to their knees and nobody finds that offensive? We look at places like California where they're literally pooping in the streets, and that's not offensive. But yet a statue that's been there for hundreds of years, well over, some of them over 200 years, that's offensive, and it's got to come down.
Look, I don't want to get thrown off the air 2 minutes after I came on the air with you. However, there is a small percentage of transgenders and alternative sex genders that I don't want to see all the time. It's offensive to me. Yet we're having it shoved down our throats constantly on every television show almost and every channel. And that is really offensive to the majority of humanity, if you have a soul. Yet nobody cares. It's all for the rights of the minority, and I don't mean
backwards.
Minority race. I'm talking minority population.
Yeah. It's backward. You know, I looked at this article, and I had computer problems earlier, but this article about the transgenders that are now, we have men who are, because they've been given boobs and they've had their penises cut off, they're now considered women, and they're competing against women in athletic arenas, and they're wiping the women out. Well, they're not women. Just because they have boobs and they don't have a penis anymore doesn't make them a woman. They weren't born that way. Men physiologically are different than women are. It's just the way God made us. So when you take a man and you do these things to them and make them in appearance like a woman, underneath all of that, they still have the muscle structure of a man. And so therefore, when you're allowing these people to compete against women who have worked hard and diligently to get where they've gotten, there's no comparison. I mean, it's just one, I'm thinking, I can't remember the exact words, but just like they blew all of the records out of the water. This one person, that weightlifter person, transgender, whatever, just blew him out of the water. And doesn't even look like a woman. Looks like a man with long hair. It's shameful. It's shameful that we're allowing this. I feel bad for the women that are involved in it. I think it's truly unfair to them. It's not a level playing field at all. There's no way, shape, or form that this is fair. I wish they would get to the point where they say, you know what? Take your sports and shove them. We're not going to compete against men. I don't care if they have boobs. I don't care if they have a vagina. They're not women. And it's not a matter of being racist. It's not a matter of being prejudiced. It's a matter of being on a level field. I'm sorry, but that's how I feel.
Well, of course, I agree. As somebody that was a bodybuilder at one time, and I am still a black belt, we still know the difference between a muscle structure of a man and a woman. I mean, this is just common sense. I have a friend, and his name is John Entine. And John wrote a book. He's written several books. He's a think tank scholar. He wrote a book called Taboo. And Taboo, I mean, let me tell you, it came out many years ago, and it was about the difference between black and white athletes. Why, and it was called Taboo, Why Black Athletes Dominate Sports and Why We're Afraid to Talk About It. And let me tell you, I was close to John at that particular time. It was like in 1989 or 90, while he was Tom Brokaw's producer. And Sharpton and everybody came out. But guess what, Riscalla? You cannot fight biology. I mean, you can argue what your opinions of this or that are, but biology has its own language. And facts are facts biologically. And that took some heat, and you're talking what I'm talking about in 1989 or 90. These are things that people are petrified to talk about. But it's just how it is. Why are the left and so many people afraid of the truth?
Right, yeah. My point exactly. What is it that is so dangerous about that? I think, well, some of that I can answer myself. Some of that is, what's dangerous about it is, if the truth comes out, they're going to get in trouble. Some of it. The rest of it, I can't figure out.
Well, I believe that we're watching the decay of our own country because of all that's been hidden and swept under the rug families are just dissipating.
It's
and
an attack on
it always comes back to President Trump, who I'm a cheerleader for, as well you are, that he has brought this to the light. And I say this, it sounds so repetitious, but we're starting to see now the cracks in the pavement of all of these reptiles that are coming out.
And the mentality. Okay, I found the one article I was looking for. Transgender athlete Mary Gregory has reportedly shattered 4 women's powerlifting world records on Sunday, but only Gregory seems to be celebrating. A biological male who identifies as a female. Gregory set records in the women's squat, bench, press, and deadlift. Scored a Masters world total record. How is that possibly fair? How is that just? How is that sports? Isn't that what sports is about? Taking two people who are relatively level, on a level playing field, relatively. I mean, we're dealing with different body, what am I trying to say, makeup between the two of them, but they're relatively the same. They were both born females, or they were both born males. We don't put males directly in competition with females. Why? Because we know it's just not right. It's not fair. We know that the muscle structure between the two bodies is different. This man is a man. He's just identifying as a woman. How is that right? This is beyond me.
It isn't right. I mean, would they actually put a man, let's just say that they didn't have the hormone replacement, would they actually let a man weight lift against women? Now, if it was a mixed, like we have different where it's man and woman, like let's just say any kind of division.
A co-ed, like a co-ed. Yeah.
Then you know what you're up against.
Yeah.
But when it's considered a woman's record, that would be like putting a flyweight in a boxing ring against a heavyweight. That would not, your weight has to be to the less than a quarter of a pound on that scale to get into the ring. So you're telling me chromosomes don't matter, but a quarter of a pound matters? This person is a biological male. He only identifies as a female. This is what I'm talking about. You were talking about the decay. Here's the evidence right here. How is that right? There's nothing sportsperson like about this at all. Not when women are expecting to be competing against women and they go up against a biological male. This guy hasn't even gone through the transition. He just wants to identify as a woman. No wonder when I looked at his picture, it looked like a guy with long hair. Because he is a guy with long hair. He hasn't even done anything. And this is the whole crux of it. What does identifying mean? Like, if somebody identifies as a lobster, are they allowed to climb into a tank at a seafood restaurant?
With the last administration, probably, yeah. Yeah, with the last one, I would have believed that. I think with this one, no. But, yeah, with the last one, absolutely.
How can anybody even use that? Why are chromosomes and why are biology out the window? This is what frustrates me, is because I understand science, and they're going against science.
And it's being accepted.
And that is just totally unfair, and I hope that the women go ballistic over...
I think some of them did.
Winning of.
Yeah, I think some of them.
Mary Gregory, give me a break.
I think some of them did that were there, but this should be. Why isn't there an outpouring about this, like there was about other things where there was a women's march and all that? Somebody has to say, look, if you want to be a transgender, that's your decision between you and God. God gave you the body and God gave you the right to choose. If that's what you want to do with yourself, that's fine. But if you want to compete, if you're a man and now you consider yourself a woman, you want to compete, then you go compete with other transgenders. You're not, as much of an insult as it may be, you're not naturally whatever it is that you're claiming to be. If you were born with a penis, then you're a male. I'm not sorry. God made you a male. That's what you are. You have a penis, you're a male. If you have a vagina, you're a female. It's that simple. People want to make it complicated with I don't know how many different genders and blah, 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 blah. It's nonsense. It's either one of the two. It's either one of the two. There's no in between. You're not, there is sometimes, but just, you know what I'm saying. Generally speaking.
Of course I know, but we have to also look into the medical field and right back into the pharmaceutical field, because who is allowing these hormones to be dispensed? They're talking about how we have a narcotics problem or an
opioid
problem with codeine and things like that. To me, this is just as vile, if not more so, because it's legal. To write a prescription for somebody's pain and know they're not in pain and give them a pain pill, you will go to jail. But if you write a little boy a prescription for hormones to transgender them sort of biologically through just synthetics, you don't go to jail. So they're getting away more with this hormone through pharmaceutical than all of these other drugs. I mean, I'm using them in comparison. I know that we've got a much larger amount of pain medication that is like fentanyl and stuff like that. But what I'm saying now, they don't get in trouble for writing prescriptions for these hormones for these kids, and it's insane.
Yeah, and it's changing. How young are they starting at? What age are they starting at? Some of these kids are starting as in elementary school, being told about this stuff. That well, if you were born with whatever it is that you're born, it doesn't have to be that way. We can change that. If you feel or if you identify, oh my gosh, they have enough on their minds at that age. They have enough to deal with, and throwing this on top of them. This really, to me, is the evidence that they're out to destroy this country. And the best way to do it is to start with the youth, and they've done a pretty damn good job so far.
Well, if we look closely at what the children watch on television, it is just commonplace that they think that that's natural. They think unnatural behavior is natural because they're sitting in front of these televisions or movies and watching it. Then they go to school and are taught that it's normal. So if you don't have parental guidance to say hell to the no, but what you have in many of the cases is more so the pushing of who's ever in charge of the child, whether it be my two mommies or my two daddies or whatever they're pushing towards these children. They have zero way to escape it. If a adult, a parent or an adult gave a kid some kind of hallucinogenic, they'd get in trouble. But if they give them a hormone, they won't. Think about that, Riscalla. How backwards is this? Or uneven. Let me put it that way. How uneven is this? And it's through pharmaceutical.
Who was it? I think it was JFK Jr. said the entire Congress is bought and paid for because of the pharmaceutical companies. That's how much power these people have.
And I told you that's why after the first letter you have the word harm. They put it out there.
Wow.
I mean, it's pretty obvious to us that something is going on, that so many of these weirdos are running around now that we never had. Listen, what was the one way back when was Renee Richards? Do you remember that? It was a tennis player back in whatever
vaguely.
era that was. But now they're doing plastic surgery to feminize. So it is tricking people. Do you understand? People are going out looking for the same sex as an opposite sex. Like Bruce Jenner has a girlfriend. Why didn't he just stay a dude? He still is a dude, but why is he dressing in a wig
he's
and all of this stuff?
He's a rough-looking woman. I've seen a couple of pictures of him. It's kind of scary. Oh, my God.
It really is. It's bizarre.
And it's being accepted as normal. And because it's being accepted more and more as normal, or it's being pushed to be accepted more and more as normal, it's going to become a bigger and bigger issue until people say, no, this is not normal. People, what's happened over the last 8 or 9 years, 8 years particularly, prior to this president coming in place, you were almost threatened. I mean, in some places you were threatened with the possibility of some kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Some kind of action against you if you spoke to somebody using the wrong gender. And there were places in California that were talking about making an offensible crime if you didn't refer. If somebody thought that they were a woman, I don't care how much they look like a man. If they identified as a woman, you're going to call them a woman. And if you don't, then you'll
get fired.
Yeah,
you'll get fired if you don't, or jail.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. People are being.
And you.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I'm just saying there were not very many triathlete Olympians as well known as Bruce Jenner. Mm-hmm. He was, if you were going to cherry pick the perfect one that most everybody knew and then mix him up in a salad bowl with the Kardashians, which made them even higher known, I mean way higher known, even though his face was very recognizable. They cherry-picked those one person. And believe me, he's not even a lefty. He bears to the right politically on many different topics. But they picked somebody that everybody would know was accepted as now a female. Everybody calls him Caitlyn. I wouldn't call him Caitlyn. I don't care if they stack Kruger Ranch from here to the ceiling. His name is Bruce Jenner. And he won Courageous Woman of the Year, and the women's rights were applauding him.
Well,
Courageous woman, there's no more courageous women in the country than Bruce Jenner.
Oh, please. Yeah.
Where's the women's rights screaming?
Well, this is,
Nowhere.
again, this is what they've made this. So in my day, there was a time this would have been called abominable.
Abomination.
An abomination. And that's what we had for 8 years. We had an Obama nation. We had an abomination
Absolutely.
of this country, and this is the repercussions of that. Now that we're talking about the word thing, I want to talk about this for a second. Angel put this post up, which I thought was so cool. She says, "Listen up, they use codes. I just heard the call number of the pill on Fox News, and immediately I knew what it meant. Now, I would not have known this. It would have gone right over my head. The pill is called RU486, and then the name of it, which I'm not even going to try, basically causes the lining of your uterus to shed, so your pregnancy can no longer continue because the egg will have nothing to stay attached to. It is an abortion pill. Now look at what I am telling you, that they are actually calling it the letter R, the letter U, the number 4, space 86. So what it means is RU486. 86 was, in the military, we used 86. You're going to 86 them. You're going to knock them. You're going to kill them. So the name of the pill is telling you, RU for killing. Your insight is amazing, really. I thought that was really cool.
Well, Riscalla, I was just sashaying by with my Jewish American princess sachet, and I heard Brett Baer say it, and I literally wasn't even looking at him. But when you're not looking at the call letter, the RU486, you hear the words. Do you understand what I'm telling you?
Right.
So I wasn't looking at the code for the pill, but he was said, yes, in the abortion pill RU486, I saw it in my mind's eye. And does it not make sense? Because
Absolutely.
That's what it is. And I
Yep.
tell people, please look it up. Trust but verify. That's the name of the abortion
It
pill.
is, yes. Yeah. I've heard it many times.
Crazy are they?
Yep. In your face. Again, I've said many times that I believe it's one of their laws, one of their sick, twisted laws, that whatever they're going to do, they have to tell us about it somehow. Now, sometimes it's in your face, sometimes it's encrypted, but they have to tell us about it. And because we do not respond with "we will not consent" or "we do not consent," they have their permission to go forward. Even though they have pulled the wool over, we don't know what they're telling us. Sometimes it's encrypted, like I said, and you don't know. But that's okay. It works in their favor. So it's like RU486. Jeez, man. My goodness.
I mean, how much clearer, once you see it, you cannot unsee it, and when you hear it, because it's going to be coming up on the news a lot now, because some are trying to ban it, and of course it's not getting banned is the bottom line. That's what Brett Baer said. But I do want to talk also tonight with the Kentucky Derby, and as a wordsmith, I do pick up on these things. This is the one time, and believe me, I'm pretty Derby savvy, that the winner was rescinded. They said that he was in error, so they pulled him out. And the winner ended up being Country House.
Country
and
what?
The one that was pulled was called Maximum Security. And I'm telling you that this ties into President Trump.
Wait a minute. Go back a second. The one that was pulled was maximum security.
Correct.
And the one that was
he won. He was the called winner, and they rescinded and said no. He had a let's just call it a flag, and he was disqualified as the winner.
Mm-hmm. And the one who did win the name is what?
Country, like how President Trump keeps saying he wants to give us our country back. House.
Health?
Like house, like White House.
Oh, country house.
Correct.
Wow.
And this happened to be race number 145. And I'm using as the number one, I'm thinking of WON1 for 45, president, the 45th president. And the maximum security is what I feel the left have always had in all the agencies, every alphabet down the line, not the good alphabets that have been saving lives for as long as I can remember, but the ones, the weeds within the wheat.
Mm-hmm.
The maximum security rug has been pulled out. They thought they won by getting Mueller's thing brought forward, but they're going to be rescinded, and the country is going to be handed back to the House.
So you think
and
this
I think
is...
it has to do with President number 45.
You think this somehow has divine intervention? This has a divine handprint in it?
Absolutely. Listen, when Trump was in office, Justify won the Triple Crown. Triple Crowns are not always, it doesn't happen all the time. It's really a rarity. But Trump was in and Justify won. I looked back and thought, Obama had a Triple Crown winner also during his reign.
Mm-hmm.
And it was called American Pharaoh. And American Pharaoh there's so much, I could just rattle it off, but I'm just telling you, through the horses, because biblical text always uses horses to talk about the future. So
interesting.
Just put these pieces together because that's what I do.
Wow. Well, I think of what you told me about global. I can't get that out of my mind. Global and how they're pushing for global this and global that. All right, we're going to take a break here in just a second. Before I go, I want to give out the phone number. If you want to give us a call, you want to join the conversation, you got a comment, you got a question, you want to speak to me or you want to speak to Angel, the number to call in is 561-440-5174. We'll be taking calls in just a few minutes. Going to take a break, and then we'll be coming back, and we'll be talking more and more about what's going on. My gosh, we are living in the twilight zone. I gotta find that music. Be right back.
You're listening to the Red Pill Reality Show on the LNM Network. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Being a dad is an adventure full of special moments.
A cruise?
Surprise!
Unexpected moments.
I got this.
And even awkward moments.
Okay, Dad, thank you.
But every moment you spend with your kids, even the smallest moments, can make the biggest impact on your child's life. So take a moment to be a dad today.
There's a lot of fear in coming back to school. I wasn't sure if I could do it. I'm a 40-year-old man that walked in there to get his high school diploma. It was very hard for me, but the teachers, the counselors, they help you. One of the teachers was Miss Araceli. Miss Araceli, she gave me direction. Every single time I had a question, she'll put down whatever she's doing and she'll come over and she'll sit there with you until you get it. Thank you, Miss Araceli. I know you make a difference in people's lives because of the person and teacher you are. I wanted to be here because I wanted to thank you for helping me get a beautiful gift. 50% of getting your high school diploma is walking through those doors. The other 50% is doing the work. Getting your high school diploma, it is a life-changing experience. It really is.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Have you ever heard of Audible? Audible is a website with hundreds of thousands of audiobooks. They're all high quality, easy to listen to, and, best of all, if you take advantage of a special deal that we've worked out for you, you can get one for free. That's right, a free audiobook of your choice in any genre, simply by going to audibletrial.com/openeyes and signing up for the free trial. It's simple to do, and it would support the shows that we bring to you, and hey, you get a free book out of the whole thing. So why not take advantage of it today? Go to audibletrial.com/openeyes and sign up for the trial.
Ask 10 different scientists about the environment, population control, genetics, and you'll get 10 different answers. But there's one thing every scientist on the planet agrees on. Whether it happens in 100 years, or 1,000 years, or 1,000,000 years, eventually our sun will grow cold and go out. When that happens, it won't just take us. It'll take Marilyn Monroe, and Lao Tzu, and Einstein, and Morobuto, and Buddy Holly, and Aristophanes, and all of this was for nothing. Unless we go to the stars.
Do you need toner for your Epson, Hewlett-Packard, Canon, Brother, Apple, or Sharp printers? Look no further than Laser Technologies. In business for over 20 years, they offer the lowest prices on toner on the web. They can also repair your laser printers and toners fast and easy. Call their expert staff today at 561-792-9600 or email us at service@laser-technologies.com for all your toner needs. All toner is shipped nationwide. Why wait? Get the lowest prices on toner. Call or email us today.
While other stations just talk a good game, we win it.
Hey, sounds like somebody's having a lot of fun.
I know you're out there. I can feel you now. I know that you're afraid. You're afraid of us. You're afraid of change. I don't know the future. I didn't come here to tell you how this is going to end. I came here to tell you how it's going.
Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. Take the red pill, 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 take the red. You stay in Wonderland. You stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Goes, 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 goes,
Now, from sunny South Florida, it's the Red Pill Reality Show with your host, Riscalla. Every Saturday night from 9 p.m. to midnight on the L&M Network. And now, your host, Riscalla.
All right, we are back. If you're just joining, it is the Red Pill Reality Show. I am your host, Riscalla. Tonight I have the honor and the privilege of having Angel Strong with me, a very unique young lady who is so well informed and so well rounded, and a very unique perspective, constantly bringing things into the picture that it's right there in front of me. I don't see it, but she says, "Don't you see this now?" I go, "Wow, now I see it." Yeah, absolutely. So we're back, Angel. I wanted to pick up. You were talking about My mind just went completely blank. God help me. I'm trying to think of too many things at one time.
You're just thinking of too many things. That's like myself. Riscalla, it's not that we're losing our receptors. It's that they're so busy.
Yeah, going 100 miles an hour. I was talking about Venezuela earlier, and I found the thing that I was looking for. Imagine this. Now, this is about 25 years ago, roughly. Venezuela was the third richest country in the Western Hemisphere. 1997, Venezuelans became the second largest purchaser of the Ford F-150, most popular pickup truck that Ford has ever made. 2001, Venezuela voted for a socialist president to address income inequality. 2004, private health care is completely socialized. 2007, all higher education becomes, quote, free. 2009, socialists banned private ownership of guns. 2012, Bernie Sanders said Venezuelans are living the American dream better than Americans. 2014, opposition leaders are imprisoned. 2016, food shortages become widespread. 2017, Constitution and elections suspended. 2019, Venezuelans are massacred by their own government, and the civil war begins. This is the direction I believe we are headed if we don't take control of what is going down. People believe in this country that socialist Democrats or democratic socialists, whatever they want to call themselves, are part of a democratic solution, that socialism somehow equates to what we see on the internet, where we have social, what's the word I'm looking for? Social platforms. It's nothing like that at all. And it is where on the internet you can turn your computer off anytime you want. You get involved in a socialist community, you can't just turn it off. It comes in and it overwhelms everyone. It is there for no other reason than to take full power over everything, and it gets all the benefits and you get nothing.
Well, the question for me is, why does the left call President Trump and those of us on the right Nazis, which meant National Socialist Workers Party? Why are they saying that Nazi is us when it's actually them?
Yeah, this is what I said earlier. Whatever they're guilty of is what they accuse the other side of. I think it's called deflection. Is that right? It's something like that.
Yes, it is deflection, but it's also being a moron. How can they scream for something against something while screaming for it at the same time?
Yeah. This is what I don't know how to even begin to try to get people to see this kind of behavior. It's like they're so enthralled into whatever it is that they're being told to feel that they don't even see this right in front of them, smacking them in the face, but they don't see it. No, what they see is this hatred that they feel that it's all Trump's fault and it's all Trump's followers' faults. All this hatred that we feel, it's all their faults. It's all his fault. It has nothing to do with them. Well, why do you feel that way? Ask some of them, why do you feel that way? And a couple of them I asked, they couldn't answer me. Well, of course they'll parrot what they heard on, he's a misogynist, he's this, he's that, and grab him by the, what, that's why. But they won't look at his character from the time that he's been involved as a president of the United States. They won't look at what he has done for the country as a president of the United States. They'll only look at what they've been told to look at. And this is the part that's frustrating for me, that I can't get them to look beyond that. And I know you said some of them are soulless. You know what? I'm believing more and more that really is true. I had a hard time coming to terms with that, but I'm finding more and more that really is true. They just don't have a soul because they are so cold and so callous. They can't have a soul. Somebody with a soul, somebody who has any degree of caring about a fellow human being wouldn't do some of the things, wouldn't even think of doing some of the things that these people are doing.
They are so vile and have so much vitriol against anything good that they are not only soulless, they're brainless to boot. So they have the double whammy, because you can't have somebody talking about two diametrically opposed ideas and have them meld into one person spewing them out. And that's what we have on the left. They know Venezuela is a trash heap. And they know that socialism caused, if they have two brain neurotransmitters that are firing, they know socialism caused it. They don't care. They are just like they're walking dumpsters.
The zombies that we've been hearing so much about.
Yes, well, that is a way to explain it, because all these things that they put in movies kind of shadow what's coming. Because Riscalla, I know that you know, and most of the listeners, if not all of them, know that we are already getting censored. We have Alex Jones that's censored.
Yep.
Laura Loomer, censored.
Yep.
And I could list them off one by one, but I don't need to, because you guys know the censorship is already here.
What I don't understand is that there has all the censorship is coming from the dark side, clearly. So it's all dark money. But don't we have people on the light side that have money that are willing to step in and go, you know what, we're going to start our own social network, and it's going to be called whatever it's going to be called, but and work it to become another Facebook where you're not, we don't, if you want to speak about something we don't agree with, we're not going to stop you from speaking about it. We'll tell you, you know, hey, we don't agree with you, but that's about as far as it'll go. You have the freedom to speak your mind. And hopefully those of us who can look at it and question it and see some of this stuff will go, no, I don't want any part of that. But to be forced into that, because that's what they're doing, they're forcing us into a certain line of thinking by censoring all these other people, because they're not allowing that perception to come in and for us to look at it. So in essence, you're being forced to think along a certain line.
Well, like I had said, the very first show that I did with you and Michael, we know that the web or the net, you can use it either way. And they have made it into a web. And a web catches things for no good, and the net captures things for good. So they have us kind of in a no-win situation, because no matter how much money or influence somebody has, somebody else will step up. It's just back and forth. Fox News has some crumb bums on there that I cannot listen to. Now, that's our only place on regular media where we have like an outlet to listen to some, not the only, but you know what I'm talking about, on the big networks.
Yep.
But I'm just telling you, even on their channel, on their station's network, we have people that are totally anti-Trump. So even we are not on an even playing field, just put it that way. I agree.
And in order for it to become level, people have to step up and start speaking for what is right, what we know is right. We know it's not right to allow a child to be born and then be aborted. We know it's not right to abort a child. We know that's murder, and yet so many people remain silent about it. We know it's not right that Hillary Clinton is walking around free, but yet how many people have pretty much come to accept the fact, well, there's nothing going to be done. No, there's something is going to be done, and we need to be voicing our opinions about that it's not right what she got away, that it's not right what's being done to this president, how this president is purposely being targeted for no other reason than people don't like him. Not because he's done a bad job, not because he's done anything wrong, but you just don't like him. That's the kind of crap that we used to have to put up with in school from the popular people. If they didn't like you, they would bully you into being, pushing you off into the corner or something like that. It's just beyond me. It's beyond me.
You reminded me just now, back in the day, in magazines, I guess in my day of Black Belt magazines and other magazines, probably Life and Time, there used to be like a character comic little ad for weightlift or drinks, protein drinks. And it would show a guy kicking sand on a guy at the beach.
Oh, I remember. Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
So they have kicked sand on us for a long time. And that's why we're not scared, we're prepared. But we just haven't went out looking for Bluto yet. But it will come. It's just we're very lawful and they're very lawless. And I've said that before, Riscalla. It is hard for us to go against, I'm not saying go against the law, but to even go against civility because we are a civil group of people.
And they're taking advantage of that.
Legally through the voting block.
I can't help but believe that they're taking advantage of that, too. They know that, and they take advantage of it.
Yes, of course. I mean, they stoop to conquer. And when they do that, that doesn't mean they lay down. That means they do anything. They crawl on their bellies to get things done like serpents. While we're working, that's job mentality versus mob mentality.
Wow. Wow.
But I don't know what else we can do other than do what we're doing and reelect Donald Trump.
That
Listen, I said this last week. It's not like I'm clairvoyant, not even clairvoyant. But I told you, I said they could quench the thirst at these rallies for the left with 2 Dixie cups. And sure enough, the next day I saw that Biden had like 30 people show up for a rally. I mean, probably 5 of them were on-call pallbearers for him.
You don't understand, Angel. He's the number one front runner. He's ahead of Trump. This is what they want us to believe. They think that that's going to work again, like they did, like they tried back in 2016 and kept saying Clinton's ahead, Clinton's ahead, Clinton's ahead. And they couldn't say it anymore because it wasn't working. And they finally had to admit that Clinton wasn't ahead. They're trying it again. They think it's going to work again. They think in certain subjects, the American people have completely forgotten. But I don't think they've forgotten in this one. I don't think that they've forgotten that the media directly lied to them purposely in order for a particular outcome, and they didn't get that outcome. So, and I think they're doing it again. These statements that keep coming up. Yeah, Biden's in the lead. Blah blah blah. Oh, that's a bunch of baloney. I don't think anybody believes that. I don't think even the Biden supporters believe that.
I mean, I don't know what he's in the lead of, but it won't be the presidential election.
I agree.
Because there is no way he can't draw a crowd, even paying for it.
True.
And Clinton couldn't either. And she had every hag-bag star. Do you remember that? Knocking on college doors.
Yep.
Out protesting, going, singing. Clinton had singing Beyonce.
Some of the colleges were giving credit to the kids for going to her rallies.
Yes, and that's why we have a bunch of simpletons sitting in classes right now.
Yeah, they were giving credit.
All we heard, no pass, no pass, no pass. And then all we heard was gulp and then absolute panic from them. They couldn't believe it. But we knew. We know because we see the rallies.
Yeah. It was pretty evident to me. I mean, my gosh, it was like you talk about overflowing. Oh, Lord. Not even overflowing doesn't come close to describing what's going on. It was like a tsunami, I think would be more of a description. A tsunami of people versus a puddle, at some of these other places.
And it's going to be even bigger this time, and we've talked
I
about
hope and
that
pray.
before as well.
I believe so, and I hope and pray so, because we can't allow this to continue. We've got to put an end to this, and the only way I see this happening is for him to be reelected, because if he's not reelected, everything that we've been so proud of this last couple of years that he's done will go right down the tubes. It'll all be for naught. It'll be for nothing. It'll be for absolutely nothing. They have openly stated, you just wait till we get control again. You just wait till we get control again. And they have, who's that? Pelosi, I think, has just said that. When we get control again, we will take care of those who have been against us, or something to that. I'm paraphrasing, but something to that effect.
Listen, I remember the last administration, Valerie Jarrett said that also.
Yes, she did that.
That was during Obama. So she did get even. They had billions sent over to her homeland in Iran. They got even on a financial scale. We can't get anything for our own borders here, but Iran gets it all.
It's amazing.
Without a peep. Nobody cared.
That's how many people are involved in the corruption. And because how in the world did he send them? And I hear different numbers, but I think it's about $150 billion. And a couple of the reports that I saw said that not only was it $150 billion in cash, but it was used bills. It wasn't freshly printed bills that they could have recorded all the serial numbers on. It was used bills. How in the world did he get away with that? How could he? How can? That's how corrupt our system is. It had to go through a lot of, okay, you're okay. All right, yes, you can do it. Yep, okay, we agree. But they won't speak out. You know why? Because their behinds are the ones who are going to get burned when all this just finally comes out into the open.
And they're worried and putting us through tax returns of President Trump. I couldn't care less. Neither could you. And that is supposed to do something. I am still a birther of Obama. I still do not believe he's a U.S. citizen.
He's not.
I don't care what anybody thinks about my beliefs. I don't know where he was hatched, but it wasn't in Hawaii.
Oh, he's a
and Buddy didn't go down in that airplane with somebody videotaping it.
He's a Kenyan skid mark. That's what he is.
Lordy Lord.
That's how much respect I got for that person.
Listen, we know that those records of his college records, certainly I know some of it is not true and some of it is true, but the majority of it is falsified. And all you have to do, and he is a Muslim.
Absolutely.
Because no matter how many places I've gone in my life, nobody could have me by mistake say, yes, my Muslim faith. It just wouldn't fall out of my mouth because it's not even registered in my brain.
Right.
When Obama said that Freudian slip to Stephanopoulos, that was it.
Yeah, he also said something about if the winds of war shift or something like that, I will stand with my Muslim brothers. Something I'm paraphrasing again because I'm going by my memory, which is pretty tore up.
I think that is a quote, but it's taken out of context, so I don't go with that because I know the book. And believe me, the title of his book tells it all. It is called Dreams from My Father.
His father was a communist,
Now,
wasn't
he? Yes, but listen to me, and I love you, but I'm not just talking to you. I'm talking about people listening. It would be different if it said dreams of my father. That would mean they were his dad's dreams. But he's saying from, which means passed on to him. Do you understand?
Yeah, and his dad was a communist, right?
Right.
Really,
so
I mean hardcore
Like
communist.
that, he is letting us know through the wording of the title that his father's dreams are now his.
I think he told us in many ways. I think you brought up that his code name was Renegade, right?
Correct.
That each president has their own kind of code name, and his was Renegade.
It's a Secret Service code name.
Again, they tell us in their own ways. They tell us what they're going to do before they do it. Sometimes it's plain out straight up in your face. Sometimes it's encrypted. But they tell us. They tell us ahead of time. And I find it, and you told me what President Trump's is, but I don't remember. What is President Trump's?
Mogul.
Yeah, mogul. Yeah. And that goes perfectly for him. Yeah.
It does. And I remember at one of the galas for Obama, and he would do this often. He brought up a film clip, and they said, he said, listen, this is really my birth. This is how I was born. And he showed a clip of Simba from The Lion King. And to me, that pointed right back to Africa, to the continent, because the scene that he particularly picked for them to play, even though he used it in humor, he based it in truth.
Yeah, well, again, they tell you, but it might be encrypted.
Yeah.
It might be, but they tell you,
So this brings us right back around to why are we still dealing with the left talking now? You don't hear the word, you do not hear anything but obstruction now. No more collusion. I don't even hear the word collusion. I don't even think they have it in their vocabulary or their vernacular anymore.
They move from one to the next. Well, okay, that didn't work. That's what I'm saying. He is like, somewhere, the best way I can describe it in my mind, he is like a political trampoline. All the crap that they throw at him kind of bounces right back off and hits them back in the face. It's the most amazing thing I have ever seen. And he has said several times, and I believe 100% he is true. He has said, nobody else could have been able to do this but me. What they put him through, I don't think anybody else could have been able to survive that because of the leather, the thick skin, if you will, that he's had because of the being so much in the public eye. And, when you're simply by numbers, not everybody's going to like you. And there are people who are very cold and callous and very rude and disgusting towards you. So I think in that growing up with that has helped him because he's been able to put up with an unbelievable amount of hatred, yet he has stood firmly the entire time. He's never wavered. The man has never wavered.
No, he hasn't. And thank God, literally, that he has a balancing act to help with the fan blades of all the negativity because he has so many people that love him. That's his recharge. I mean, look, his battery has to go low at some point, but he does get a recharge from those of us that flank him about how much we love him. I mean, could you imagine that's where those rallies, that's why he has never given up his speaking. He goes everywhere and speaks for crowds. Yeah. Crowds and crowds of people because he needs it too.
Tens of thousands of people show up. Tens of thousands show up for his rallies. I'm thinking this one arena, they said, held 10,000 on the inside, and there was an overflow they estimated an overflow of another 10,000 on the outside. Tens of thousands of people are moved by this man. And yet we have a small...
He loves each and every one of them, too, because he knows that they are they gird him, and he knows that. He knows that the true patriot, and I've heard you in some of your dialogue, Riscalla, say that it used to be honorable to be a patriot. It still is to us.
Yeah.
But people, the left hate patriotism.
They've made it almost a crime to be a patriot. As a matter of fact, prior to this administration, if you were a patriot, you were considered a domestic terrorist. They openly told us that. They openly declared people like me. I don't know how many strikes I had. Let's see, I was a veteran. That was one strike. I'm a believer in Christ. That's 2 strikes. I would be considered a white male, even though I'm not white, but that's 3 strikes. I am a concealed carry. That's 4 strikes. So I would definitely be considered a domestic terrorist.
And I'll say that you're straight, and that's your 5th strike. You're out.
Oh, there you go. That's 5 strikes. You're out of here, buddy. My gosh. So that's how much of a turnaround we've,
You are such a domestic terrorist, right?
Oh my goodness. I am, but I was going to say in a true sense I am, and that would be a terrorist towards those who are anti-constitutional. To them, I would be considered a terrorist because I would be after them. But to those who support the Constitution, no. I'm not a terrorist in the sense that I'm going to go out and hurt innocent people. I'm a terrorist in a sense to them, that I know who they are and what they've done. That makes, you follow what I'm saying? There's that people who have knowledge of what has happened, they are the terrorists because they hold these people responsible. We're the ones that will end up putting these people's feet to the fire because the other people are still asleep. They don't know. They have no idea. When you talk bad about somebody like George Bush Sr., when you say something like he was an evil man, there are people who go, "How dare you speak, bad of the dead?" Well, I didn't wait till he died. I spoke bad about him when he was alive as well.
I hear you. Look, we spend, or not just we, but the majority of people should applaud patriotism and not call it terrorism.
That's right.
It's that simple. We cannot, there is no, anybody that doesn't see the difference in that does not have a brain. To be patriotic and love the Constitution of your own homeland now, that should be applauded.
Oh, but it's frowned upon. You're not, that's not patriotism. Globalism is patriotism. Global, go ball, go ball. Gee, man.
And we're watching it even with the Pope. We talked about that last week too. But we're watching it.
And how many, how sad is this thought? How many believe every word that comes out of that man's mouth? There's big numbers that still believe in him, and he is the way, and whatever he says we must do. Oh, my goodness. God help us.
I don't really understand that. I mean, of course, I understand it to a degree, but I don't understand how people could follow the man's reasoning, especially on supporting the things like the caravan, because it doesn't make sense when you live in such protected arena yourself and then you want others unprotected. It makes no sense to me. And I have to have sense.
For the longest time, I don't know if it's true still, but for the longest time, the Roman Catholic Church didn't want people reading out of the Bible. I remember going to church as a youngster, probably 7, 8, 9, up until maybe 10, 11 years old at the most. And we were not to read from the Bible. Only the priest was to read from the Bible. And so we had to take whatever they said for, that was written in stone. Whatever they said must be true. For me, the entire experience to me was really make-believe. I never really, could understand it. You walk down the aisle and then you kneel before you go in the pew, and then you get in the pew and then you kneel, and then you get up and you kneel, and you leave, and then you kneel again before you leave, and then it was a lot of stuff that I just, I said, this is like crazy. Why would you want to do, why would God want all this going on? It didn't seem, even as a kid, it just didn't seem right to me. It all seemed crazy to me. And the older I got, and the further away from the Catholic Church I got, the more I realized how it is a religion. It is something that is all put together by men. All these rituals, if you will, that have been put together by the eating of the wafer. It wasn't even a piece of bread; it was a wafer. And Christ said, "I am the bread of life." So, if you're going to do it, use a piece of bread. I don't know. That's just how I saw it.
It's all doctrine, dogma, and most, and I would say this open-hearted, that most of the parishioners are so decent that they really do go there to be close to their Father and to the Messiah.
I agree.
They're there just to kind of get their recharge of thinking that that's the way to do it. And I applaud them for wanting to be close to God. Now, the underpinning is, of course, the hierarchy in it, and they are self-serving.
Oh my goodness, that's giving them, that's being way too light on them. They're much more than, they're just evil. There's no way around to describe what goes on there at the Vatican. And I don't know who told me.
We know that now, especially with all the pedophilia and the rape and all of the stuff that goes on there, and there's no real punishment.
Yep.
And you and I know that.
Yep. Somebody, was it you that told me it's because of their sovereignty that they're able to do that? Because they're considered
their own sovereign land,
yeah,
so they have their own laws, and they get sent off to a disciplinary place. But
might as well
we
be.
know that they know that who is the ones that are doing stuff, and they get shuffled around, but they never get put in jail. Just put it that way.
Yeah.
Or when I say never, it's very rare.
Yeah, I agree. And that's growing up, my dad had a problem with the Catholic Church. And I always thought because, well, he probably feels that way because his father was a Muslim. And he was like neutral. He really wasn't a Muslim or Christian. He just didn't want, I think he'd seen what religion did and he didn't want to have anything to do with it at all. But he particularly did not care for the Catholic Church. I never really could understand that until I got a little older and realized that the Catholic Church has all of this money, yet they're constantly asking people for money, but yet they have enough to easily take care of all the hunger in the entire planet and still have plenty left over. But they don't. They continue to ask for money. And I think that he saw that early on, and he saw what a farce it was, but because of the love he had for my mom, because my mom was Catholic, because of the love he had for my mom, he was respectful in the sense that he didn't speak down about it. But there was a couple of times I did some things, and it was a Catholic-related thing, and he wasn't happy about it at all. And I didn't put two and two together until I was much older.
Well, you see, those are called not just. And then back in that day, he probably, he didn't have all the information like we have today, but people go by their gut feeling. Yeah. And when you have a gut feeling because you're kind of worldly and know, wait a minute, this place has more money than any place. I mean, owning ball teams, ball fields, places.
All kinds of stuff,
Yes. Your dad may have been not just intuitive, but he also might have known because back then people read newspapers and knew stuff. Mm-hmm. But these dioceses, people they really mean well, the people that sit in the parishioners do. And it's just a shame because there's a bunch of evil that goes on. But there's evil in all religions, because people are in all religions. So anytime you put, that's why it says the clay and the iron cannot mix. And the clay is the mud man, and the iron is the blood man. And that's what the scripture means. And we're mixed and mingled. So you're going to have soulless people that get involved in these religious doctrines. And that's why we have 40,000 different denominations. And even in Judaism, you see in Judaism, you got the Hasids, you got the Chabads. They argue all the time. What do you have? The Sunnis and the Shiites and Islam. They're killing each other. So in all these religions, everybody is pointing fingers at each other. So you've got iron and clay within all religions.
That's why I've always said it's not about religion, it's about relationships. I don't think God ever meant it to be a religion. He meant it to be a relationship. And when I read it, what I read in the Bible, more and more and more, it tells me it's all about relationships. Your relationship with God, your relationship with your friends, your relationship with other human beings, your relationship with the planet, your relationship with everything around you, whether that's an animal or a human, whatever that might be. It's all about relationships all the way around.
The old saying, God's green earth, you've heard that. Mm-hmm. Why on God's green earth? Why is it green? Why isn't it blue? But you think that the first thing that would sprout up would be grass, the green grass. So everything grows from something and then sprouts, and then does it wither and die, or does it really take hold and become something beautiful? And we do the best we can, and there's others that just want to seek and destroy. So
Sadly, that is true, and more it is being exposed. See, my whole thing is, now that you know that, to me, having knowledge and not sharing it, especially knowledge that could help somebody. If something happens to that person, then you share a degree of guilt to go along with it. For example, if you knew somebody was taking a particular path every day, and you knew that part of that path was really dangerous, but you never said a word, they didn't know it was dangerous, and you never said a word, and something happened to them, then you share a degree of guilt in whatever it was that happened to them because you knew and you didn't share. That's how I feel about knowledge in general. You have knowledge that can help other people, then share it, especially if we can make it better for everybody. Right now, my greatest concern is that I really think that these people want to push us into a civil war. They are openly telling us, we're taking your guns, and if you don't give them to us, we're sending men with guns to take them from you. What does that tell you? That's an open declaration of war. And I would love to do everything that I possibly can to avoid that. That's the last thing I want to see happen. These people who are calling for war are treasonous. They're the ones who should be pulled out. They're the ones who should face justice, not the law-abiding citizens who are constantly forced to give up more and more of their rights to appease these people. Beside the fact that I read off some of the things with Venezuela. That's just one country. But it's like a cookie cutter. It's done the same way in every country. Free health care, an equalization of or what do they call it? Equality of employment. I can't think of the word, but of money going across people. These kind of ideas is how it's all brought about, and of course the disarmament of the people, so you can no longer defend yourself at all against these people. It's not a good thing. It's not a good thing, and it's not good that people are remaining constantly silent about what's going on. Not enough of us are speaking out about what is right and what is wrong. This idea, what keeps coming to mind is this idea of the celebration of killing babies, and they're celebrating about it there in New York with the lights on the building. I thought that was horrendous. I thought that was truly a dark moment in our society, that we would look to something like that as a celebratory type of thing to do. My God, help us. My God, help us. I can't understand how people have become so callous. How could they have become so programmed and so conditioned not to understand what is going on when it comes to human fertility, when it comes to the birth of a child, when it comes to the moment of conception? There is a spark of light when the seed meets the sperm. There's a moment of light, a spark of light at that very, very second. That's not just anything. That's not something that's just a, quote, fetus and has no feelings and doesn't feel pain or anything like that. So for the life of me, I'll never understand that.
Well, we have to remember somebody that would turn on a building into pink, like they did, and have a celebratory shindig for a ruling to abort late term and even after infanticide is soulless. Now, people that understand the biblical text or think they do will never accept that, but those of us that understand it in one way, I have to accept it because I see it playing out in front of me. Anybody that says that they're not representing Baal with child sacrifices, which they are. This is all blood sacrifices. It's so obvious. Why else would they? If somebody could please just tell me why a woman, this isn't just about abortion. I'm putting this to late term and to after birth, because you've heard that they'll just make the baby comfortable till it dies. Why would somebody even go that far to have a child and then let it die? I need an answer because I don't have one.
How could a mother do that to her child? You know, I as much as I disagree with abortion, I might somehow understand if it were still in its very, very early stages where it's not even recognizable. Maybe. Then if it were some drastic threat upon the individual's life, I could understand that. But anything other than that, it's beyond me. It is truly beyond me. That a mother is...
Forget just that. Riscalla celebrating it.
Oh.
Okay, what happens? Let's say that somebody mourned it. Okay, it passed, but they had long faces, and they came out and said, "We struggled with this. We struggled with this." I'm talking about the left, and we've had a very hard time coming to this. But we have to realize, some kind of spiel like that, even if it was a mediocre one, that would show maybe not any type of repentance, but it would show some kind of thought process. No, they're blatant in their celebration.
Yes.
Now you've crossed the line here. You see, there's no place in the biblical text that has anybody really supposed to forgive anybody without the other person repenting. That's why if you believe in the Messiah and you know the story of his crucifixion, apparently there were two people, two criminals, one on either side of him. You've heard the story, right? When he was crucified, there was a criminal on one side and a criminal on the other. That's why you see three crosses.
Yep.
Well, the one person, was really mean to him and said, "If you're the Son of God, send someone to free you," or whatever he said. And then there was a nice guy on his other side that said, "Hey, be nice to this guy. I'm paraphrasing, hasn't done anything."
Yep.
The one that was nice was looked at and said, "Today I'm going to tell you, I'll see you in paradise." He never even glanced over at the other one. So right there, we see two criminals, one accepted because he in his own way repented by saying this man is guilty of nothing.
Yeah.
So if the Messiah's story is not completely telling us, if somebody is unrepentant, you don't even have to look at them. Forget about forgiving them.
And in relation to what's happening, for example, to Donald Trump, not that he's the Messiah by any stretch of the imagination, but the events that are happening against him. Here's a man who's standing for the truth. He wants to expose the criminality. Back in the days of Christ, what were the things that basically got him in trouble? The things that got him in trouble was he spoke out against the existing power structure, which was basically religion and the council there. And what was the only time that Christ ever got violent? He literally got violent, was against the bankers. He found the bankers in the house of his father. He said that's absolutely unacceptable, overturned the tables, and whipped them out. He didn't ask them, "Oh, would you please leave?" He got in there and literally whipped their behinds and chased them out. That's what got him in trouble. So how does that compare to Donald Trump? Donald Trump is exposing, and therefore he is fighting the existing power structure, which is in many cases is the same bloodline as back then. He's trying to expose the existing power struggle. He's telling people that what's the best way to explain it? He keeps referring to the swamp. He's telling people that the corruption is there and that the corruption has been there for quite some time. He is bringing prayer back. He's talking about putting prayer back in schools, which has the other side absolutely crazy. This existing power structure is now in a full panic mode, and they don't know really what to do because everything they've tried to do everything that has worked for them in the past has absolutely failed against this man. And they don't know what to do. But the parallels that I see is that here is a man who's trying to do good in general, and yet he's being persecuted as though he is the worst criminal on the face of the planet. Similar to what similar to what Christ had done. Here was a man who did good, and yet he was persecuted as the worst criminal on the face of the planet. So it's this mentality of the small group of people. And again, I believe many of the bloodlines that are involved in this are the same bloodlines. These people know their bloodlines. They keep track of their bloodlines all the way back. My brother-in-law, who is of Pharaoh descent, they keep their blood. He knows his bloodline all the way back. His descendants are the pharaohs. So these people that we're talking about, many of them in the higher upper structures, the echelon of what we call leaderships, that have their families been there all one generation after another in what we call politics or leadership. They know their bloodline. They know where they're coming from. And many of them, I believe, are the same ones that were around when Christ was crucified. It's that mentality. It's that sickness that just has never gone away. And this is what Christ is doing. This is what Trump is doing. He's exposing this sickness. He's putting it out there in the open, and he's speaking against the existing power structure, which is what Christ did. And he's bringing prayer back in, which is, and the final nail in the coffin is that he has openly stood against who? The bankers, the feds, the Federal Reserve of this country, which has nothing to do with our government. He has openly spoken against doing away with the feds. So the only time that I can remember Christ being literally violent was with the bankers. I see the parallels. To me, it's pretty obvious.
And he was like that with, and believe me, I was raised by a lawyer, but he was like that with the law writers. With the scribes and the law writers. He was free.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, but I mean, there wasn't a time where he literally turned over the tables and whipped them out. But he was, yeah.
But we have to, a lot of times people, when they're reading, and believe me, Trump is very Christ-like. You know, that's his family's last name is Christ.
Yep.
And that means anointed, and believe me, he has been anointed.
I agree.
But there's a saying that the Messiah said that was like this, and people quote this all the time. No one gets to the Father. Let me say it right. Let me just. I have to pull out a biblical text because I'm not a scholar when it comes to the Christian scripture, but I think it's no one gets to the Father except by me.
Yeah, except through the Son. Yep.
Okay.
No one gets to the Father except through the Son.
Go ahead.
That's. I think that's what it is. No one gets to the Father except through the Son.
Okay, I'm going to explain that in first century Judaism. No one comes to the Father except through me. Okay? That is not an invitation. An invitation would be everybody that comes to the Father would come through me, gets to the Father. He's telling you, hey, I'm like the bouncer here. No one's coming to the Father unless they go through me first. I'm adding the first. That's
good
not
point.
there.
Yeah.
But that's like how a father, let's just say you have a daughter, Riscalla,
Mm-hmm.
and you're standing at the door and you said, nobody gets to her unless you go through me.
Mm.
Do you think that's an invitation or is that a threat?
Yeah. I don't think it's an invitation.
It's not, and neither was it in the Christian scripture, not in first century Judaism. That was a well-known phrase of you're not getting past the threshold unless I give the okay.
Wow.
Now, it could have been worded different, and I would recognize that as well. But this, the Messiah running around like John Lennon, everything is beautiful and peace, love, and harmony. The Messiah taught love, but he also taught law to be lawful. And that's why he said, get away from me, you workers of lawlessness. And that's what Trump is saying. You're saying he's Christ-like. I'm saying, does he run around also saying, listen, we have to stop this lawless behavior?
Yep.
What did the Messiah say verbatim?
Right along the same line.
Yes. So we're watching the parallels of President Trump, and like you and I have said, till we're blue in the face, and people's ears are turned over like hound dogs, that he has always said and will continue to say, we worship God, not government.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna have to I want to get that and record that so I can play that video, that audio clip. But yes, I've heard him say that.
So the people that love Trump 72 hours, if not 48 to 24 hours before he threw his hat in the ring for president, believe me, Hillary had more ink on checks from him. He was a donator.
Yeah. To many of them.
Donor.
Many of them that were, even some of them, not even some, a lot of them that he was running against, he had donated to their campaigns in the past. So he, in some ways, it kind of parallels Moses, kind of almost. Moses was in with the best of the best. He knew how all of that worked. He was given the secrets of the pharaohs back then, and he realized who he was and had to walk away from it. And then he came back, and because of the knowledge that he had and the leading of God, he was able to make them stick their head in the sand, basically, while they walked away free. No matter what Pharaoh did to him, it came back to bite Pharaoh in the proverbial behind. And that's what we're seeing. Again, I think of him as a political trampoline. Whatever they throw at him, because there's an old saying, you throw enough up against the wall, something's bound to stick. It doesn't work with Trump. It's like he's like Teflon coated with a combination of having a trampoline, so to speak, because not only does it not stick, it bounces off of him and goes back to bite them in the proverbial behind.
I know, and I love it because they have never come up against anything like
No.
that. Everybody else has turned tails, and he comes out swinging. I've said it before, I will say it again. No boxing match was ever won by just blocking. If somebody's going to throw a punch, you have to block it, but you better swing back. And I mean was from left hooks to right crosses until you knock somebody out. And that's what he does. Why would he let them keep throwing stuff and him not throw down right back at them?
Well, I think that's where we're at now. I think we're at that point where we've reached. I think it was about a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago. I told you I think the gloves are off because I heard him start the way he responded to something, and I don't recall exactly what it was right now, but it was a way that he responded to something that was unlike any response that he had done before, and it sounded to me like, okay, now that we're done, the Mueller report is in, we're done. I'm done being a nice guy. It's time to start paying for what you've done, and I think that's really what's happening now. He's in there, right, left, upper, lower, and people are starting to take notice.
Yes, and when this all ends, he's going to throw a haymaker, and Barr is taking some of the heat. So all this stuff that they're throwing at Attorney Barr for what he's done, it's just making everybody that's got two senses to their head know that no matter what information comes out, the left will not accept it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but at the beginning we had Mueller. Well, was it Comey before Mueller? But we had Mueller was the one who ended up with the responsibility for the investigation. It was a bipartisan decision or agreement. Maybe that's a better word to describe it. A bipartisan agreement that he was going to do the job. He's going to do a good job. He's a stand-up man. He's right and straight and blah, 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 whatever. We're going to go by whatever he says. Bipartisanly, this was said. Both Democrats and Republicans said, whatever he comes up with, we'll agree with it. We're sure that he'll do a good job. So he does his good job. He comes back, and what he says, a particular group of people don't agree with it. Now he's lost all credibility with them. Oh, he's working for Trump, blah, 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 blah. Then the report that he gives to the Attorney General, which takes that report and outlines it basically in a much shorter, document. And he says that there will be no charges brought against the president. Well, this man who did that prior to saying anything has a history of being very reputable, being straight up, being honest, not playing political games, but following the law. His focus was to follow the law. All of a sudden, he has become now almost a criminal. And as a matter of fact, one of them is calling him a criminal. It's telling him that he lied to his face. They're telling him that he lied.
I heard her, that representative from Hawaii.
Yeah. This is how desperate they have become.
She needs to be toothless, but go ahead.
This is how desperate.
Serious. To speak like that to someone is just disgusting.
it just, to me, I agree. But it shows, it's the testimony to me, the evidence of how much of a panic that they are in. This person obviously has something that is very, very much she wants to keep hidden, because the whole purpose of what she's doing is to bring the president down. The whole purpose of bringing the president down is to CYA. We know what that means in the military. CYA. That's what it's all about with them.
Well, you're right that they were going to have Mueller. He was the golden boy until it's just like Comey. Remember when he went against Hillary before the election, didn't go against her, but said, well, we found evidence, but nobody's going to put the case together. Lottie do. She's guilty, but nobody cares. They hated him until he went against Trump. Then they loved him. I'm familiar with Barr all the way back to Noriega. I told you I was there when Noriega went into the Miami Feds. Barr's his reputation has been stellar for as long as I can remember, and I can remember long. So it doesn't matter who is in that position, they're going to go against him unless somebody goes against Trump. That's the only time the left is on anybody's side.
And my whole thing is, haven't we had enough of that? Are we ever going to be able to get past this with them? And the answer is we can if we respond properly. And the proper response is to tell them goodbye in this next election. I think all of them that are criminal are going to meet their just end. It's just not going to happen right away. They got a lot, over 80,000 sealed indictments. They got a lot of people they got to take care of. So, yeah, I think eventually they're going to get it. But I don't think there's any reason to allow them to stay in office any longer than necessary. Let's kick their behinds out. Let's put some people in there that care about us. I mean, is that so much? Is that such a crazy idea? I don't know. Jeez. All right, we're going to take a break. It is that fat magic moment. You're listening to the Red Pill Reality Show with Riscalla and Angel.
You're listening to the Red Pill Reality Show on the LNM Network. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
From the author of Silent Steps and Haunted, Finding an Explanation for the Unknown, comes a story so chilling it will haunt you for years to come. Krista is a young woman escaping her past, running away from her family, her traumas, and her God, hoping to find a new life in a different town. But when she is forced to make a horrible choice, she comes to realize malevolent entities have controlled the true darkness she has been a part of. That is when her real terror begins. Penitence is disturbing and evocative. It will tear down the walls between what is real and what is nightmare. Penitence is the new novel by the man called the new master of speculative fiction, Ira Robinson. Find it and all of his books at his website, originalworlds.com.
Do you own a laser printer, copier, or a fax? Well then, listen close to this announcement. Laser Technologies has been providing high-quality, frustration-free toner cartridges that are guaranteed not to harm your equipment for over 20 years. Laser Technologies will save you on your supplies with high quality and fast delivery. Savings up to 50%. Laser Technologies supplies toner, imaging drums, developer and cartridges for most of the major brands. For a price quote, send an email to service@laser-technologies.com. Include your printer make and model for your part number. Call us at 561-792-9600. That's 561-792-9600. Laser Technologies, providing 100% of the quality at a fraction of the price. 561-792-9600.
Want to give your pet the celebrity treatment? Have you heard of Holly Wolf Pet Grooming and Care in Royal Palm Beach? They're located just off State Road 7 and have been servicing the area for 14 years. Holly Wolf Pet Grooming and Care is the home of the Blueberry Facial, also specializing in tartar removal with 8 years of assisting in dental procedures. Holly Wolf Pet Grooming and Care? They're more than just about dogs. They are the only experienced cat groomer in the area. They also cater to all breeds and sizes and open 6 days a week. Holly Wolf Pet Grooming and Care, located just north of the Super Walmart in Royal Palm Beach. You can find them at 250 Business Parkway. They specialize in shampoos with no extra charge, Flea and tick dips also available. Holly Wolf Pet Grooming and Care. You can give them a call at 561-793-9992. They also provide gift certificates for those looking for that special present. Holly Wolf Pet Grooming and Care. 561-793-9992. They're located in Royal Palm Beach. That number, 561-793-9992. Call for your appointment today, 561-793-9992. Holly Wolf Pet Grooming and Care, where your pet gets celebrity treatment.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding. Why did the girl ask the mushroom to dance? Because he was a fun guy. What do you call a pig that knows karate? Pork chop. Why was the basketball court all wet? Why? Because the players kept dribbling all over it. Can I tell you another one? So how does a tissue dance? Put a little boogie on it. What's Beethoven's favorite fruit? Banana. What is a boxer's favorite drink? Fruit punch.
Dad joke. Corny, groan-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
What did the buffalo say when he dropped his son off at school? Bye, son.
So take a moment to make your kid laugh, because dad jokes rule. Make your kid laugh today. Go to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
I can read your mind. We ain't about to get along, and I know why. You think we owe you when we don't. Yeah, there's a welfare line wrapping round Main Street. That money ought to help our boys coming back from overseas. We're gonna paint this country red like Reagan. Gonna shoot our guns, gonna eat our bacon. There's a great big bald eagle who's smiling on us, and soldiers who died for your privilege to fuss. If you wanna leave, you can't take it no more, and I'll show you the damn door. I'll show you the damn door. And all these protests, you're throwing out some heavy words, and I'm just wondering, how the hell'd you get off work? Cause I got 65 long hours that I just put in last week. Now I gotta go back home, hear you whining on TV. We're about to paint this country red like Reagan. Gonna shoot our guns, gonna eat our bacon. There's a great big bald eagle who's smiling on us, and soldiers who died for your privilege to fuss. If you wanna leave, you can't take it no more, and I'll show you the damn door. We're about to paint this country red like Reagan. Gonna shoot our guns and eat that bacon. There's a great big bald eagle who's smiling on us, and soldiers who died for your privilege to fuss. If you wanna leave, cause you can't take it no more, and I'll show you the damn door. I'll show you the damn door. Get out.
All right, it is the Red Pill Reality Show. I am your host, Riscalla. That was Buddy Brown with Red Like Reagan. Oh, the senior years are catching up to me. My goodness. Buddy Brown with Red Like Reagan, and you can find him at most of the major stores. You can find his album there. I like to play that song because it reminds me of a time when that was the common in this country, where we would not be afraid to let people know that we were patriotic and that we loved this country, and that we would, many of us would lay our lives down for this country, and many of us had signed that paper with our blood. To the last drop of blood, we would protect this country and fight for our freedom. Even though we were misled and misguided, unfortunately, the patriotism was still there. And today it's kind of frowned upon, and we want to change that, want to bring that back around to really what it needs to be. And what it needs to be is to be looked up to. To be patriotic is something to look up to. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with nationalism versus globalism. We have every right as a country to support ourselves first. There's nothing selfish about that. In many of the experiences that I've had in life, one of the greatest that I've had to come to terms with is because I am a person that likes helping other people. I had to come to terms with I had to help myself first. If I don't take care of me first, how am I going to help anybody else? And that's kind of like it is with our country. If we don't take care of us first, how are we going to be able to help anybody else? And there's a lot of helping that we need to be doing within this country, to the citizens of this country, the veterans that have gone off to war and come back and had the government turn their backs on them. There's a lot that needs to be done there before we start helping anybody else. And hopefully that's what we're going to be doing, putting that knowledge out there. Having people like President Trump in place that is bringing this. We would know about none of this had it not been for this president, had it not been for the will of the people. I believe had it not been for the will of God, really, divine intervention to put this man where he is and keep him where he is. So anyway, we are back. Welcome back, Miss Angel. Thank you so much for being my co-host. I want to talk a little bit about something that's going to be happening with you. And is it this Monday or is it the following Monday that you're going to be doing your own show?
Well, let's hope that I can speak with you like tomorrow to talk about. I'd like to start this Monday, but I'll talk to you about that.
Okay.
I am so excited because I really think.
I am too. I think you're going to have a great show.
Thank you, Riscalla, and I hope you'll be on there with me. I'm going to drag you in there.
Well, if
I know you're going to be working.
Yeah, if I can sneak in,
you can.
Yep.
At least call in.
Yeah, if I can sneak in, you betcha. I'll be in there. I'll be happy to put my 2 cents in for you.
Well, I appreciate that. I think it's going to be fun. I'm going to try to talk topics that are going to integrate the politics with the biblical and the political arena.
Mm-hmm.
But I will always listen to your show too, and I just like you and Michael had me call in when Peter Kling was in. I love doing that because I love listening to you guys as well and joining in.
Well, you're welcome to be a co-host with me for as long as you want. That's an open invitation. However long you want to be here, you're welcome to be here. I don't want you to feel obligated, but I don't want you to feel like I just don't think he wants me, because I love having you here. I love your perspective. I am forever grateful for the knowledge that you have. You have so much more knowledge about things I have no clue about, particularly when it comes to like the Hebrew thing. When you've read original, what are they called, scrolls, Hebrew scrolls?
Yes, the Dead Sea Scrolls and many scrolls.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like anything else. I tie that into, let's just say, extraterrestrial. I'm not saying that it doesn't have religious background, because it certainly does. But I also know that we're talking about things that were not of this world. And the Dead Sea Scrolls prove that to me. And I keep saying this, there is no coincidence that in the 1947 that things happened, such as the Dead Sea Scrolls were found. I mean, I'm not saying that the Bedouins didn't find them in 45 and 46, but they really came to light in 47, Roswell accident in 47,
right.
And also the formation of Israel to become a state in latter 47 and then became a state in 48. So my influence, or what I have been influenced even with the Dead Sea Scrolls, as well as, like I've said, meeting Zachariah Sitchin and many other people that are involved in ancient texts, there is something to be said about help from another realm.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. So while we're talking about that, I want to ask you about this, because I mentioned this to my brother-in-law, again, who is direct descendants of the pharaohs. When we see these hieroglyphs, and we see the what appears to be like a bird head on a human body, can you give me any clue what you think that is? Because I asked him, I said, what do you think of that? I said, I told him, I said, before you answer me, you might think I'm crazy, but I think that was a real being that was here at one time. He said, oh yeah. Without a blink of an eye, he said, oh yeah. What do you think that was?
Well, we know that some of the gods, according to, the word mythology, I want you to think about that word. Mythology is almost my theology.
Oh.
Okay?
Wow.
Can you separate the two without the letter E?
Yeah.
So my theology and mythology are intertwined. So they had things such as the bird head that had human form. Do we see today, you tell me, Riscalla, do we see today a pig, a porcine pig, growing a human ear?
Yeah.
Okay. So what we know today, they did architectural things that we still can't do.
Yeah.
So what's to say they couldn't do
The same thing.
DNA manufacturing back then? So yes, I happen to believe that a lot of the creatures that we have seen pictograph of were actually creation.
Real people, or real beings.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, there was all the pictographs, or many of them, had bird heads.
Yeah.
Well, when you think of a bird, where do you think of a bird? Do you think of a bird on the ground, or do you think of a bird in the air?
In the air, yeah.
That's right. And they were trying to create something, mad scientists, or wherever way you want to put it, of something that came down from above.
From the air. Wow. Well, I find that...
I do believe.
Because, when I was young and we heard and read stories about that, it was all, well, this was their symbolism, and these really weren't real things, and blah, 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 blah. But as I get older and the more I learn, the more that I know that I don't know. That's the kind of thing. And after having spoken with my brother-in-law, and I was kind of surprised at how quickly he answered. He said, oh yeah, absolutely. No question about it to him. There's no question in his mind. Those are real beings of some sort that existed at one time. But a bird head on a human body. Could you, I think I would be changing underwear rapidly if something like that was coming at me. My gosh.
Look at today how when we read I'm just talking about the Judeo-Christian biblical text, we know that there is a problem straight away with the reptile. Whether it be a serpent, I happen to know that it was a person with a soulless being, not a reptile.
Mm-hmm.
But in all cultures, or almost all cultures, we still see dragons, representative or crocodile head, something reptilian, as worshipped. You know what I'm talking about. They're on flags. They're on buildings. They're on signs. They're in codes. They're everywhere. And President Trump said we're going to clean out the swamp, and that's why he picked that word.
Very interesting. I love.
There's a bunch of viper reptiles, but think even in China they still have them. Or it's not just China; everywhere there's crests of dragons or serpents.
Yeah, I love how you can pick this stuff out, like the RU-486 thing. That went right by me. It was right over my head. And it's like a spotlight to you. Oh my God, you believe what you just, because I'd heard that a long time ago. I think it was a popular pill in the UK for a while, if I'm not mistaken. I think they were taking it over there for a while. And it never occurred to me. And I heard that years ago, RU-486.
I know, but now when you hear it,
it'll never be the same. Yeah. It'll never be just like just like
So
when.
should mythology. So should my theology and mythology. That should be it's somebody's theology that's
Yep. I love it. I love it. So you know what I'm thinking of now? You're playing the word thing. What do you call it? A wordsmith?
yes.
So I'm thinking the word psychotherapist.
Right.
Psycho the rapist. Oh.
Lordy Lord. Think about it. That's exactly because that's how it's spelled.
Psycho the rapist. Psychotherapist.
Yes. Once you divide words, you see.
Oh my gosh. I never stop to think about stuff like, I mean, that's why I enjoy having you, because you are, you're attuned to that. Where in some areas of my life, I'm awake. In other areas, I'm still very much asleep. I'm still very ignorant to a lot of this stuff. And when that's why I say to people, no one of us has all the answers, but when you start putting this all together, we'll come up with the answers, because all of us together can find the answers, but not one of us, has all the answers. And that's what I like about having you, on the show. You bring out that stuff. I was clueless to this stuff. I really, now when I hear words, I begin to think a little bit about them more than I've ever before, because before they were just words to me. Now I think, when you said about the Biden, Biden, bi, bi, what is bi?
Once you start separating and seeing that they're letting us know through language. Remember, biblically speaking, and I always use that as my template, things were produced by words. Do you understand? And it spoke, and he spoke, and he said, and the word became. Well, these words in our particular language, they're telling us things as well. So they put it in plain sight for those that have eyes to see. And once you start seeing it, Riscalla, you can't unsee it.
There's
it's
no
all
unseeing it.
There.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was going to say about some of the. I read this article about some of the logos that people have come up with over the years. Baskin Robbins 31. Once you see the 31 within the name Baskin Robbins, you don't unsee it. Federal Express has an arrow pointing to the right. Once you see it, there's no unseeing it. Wendy's around the collar of the young girl there, the word mom, M-O-M, is there. Once you see it, there's no unseeing any of this stuff. So, yeah, I know exactly. I know exactly where you're going.
I know. Yeah. It becomes so clear. It's like your mind's eye starts seeing it, not just your visual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so here's my thing. How does I say I because I'm interested in how would somebody be on the edge of that all the time? I can't figure out how to correctly word the question, but to be aware of that all the time, because for so long I was asleep to it. I was ignorant of it, and now that part of me is awake to it, but I still find that times people will say something I don't catch it until later on. How are you aware to it?
That's okay. The word yet means something. I didn't catch it till later on, or I haven't caught it yet.
Yeah.
That means the potential is there, as long as you never lose the potential, because we could not put everything into our brains and have it computer chip out and know everything. But once you start compartmentalizing things, it opens up, and you are learning. You teach me a lot of things as well. It's just we all see different. Like I've said, it's a parallax. We see the same thing, but we see it differently, so we explain it, what we feel we saw, and we learn from each other.
So,
my thing just happens to be words, but you have many things. I listened to a show. It was a repeat that you had done with Michael, and I don't know how old it was because it didn't date it. But you had said that you were talking about going to the police or calling the police department, or actually going there about chemtrails.
Yes.
I just listened to it like a couple days ago.
Yes. People, they thought I was crazy.
I know. that you were trying to get a point across, and some people think that's lunacy, but I happen to know that you were telling the truth.
Well, thank you. At least somebody believed me.
Well, because when it sounds far-fetched, there's usually a truth to it.
So speaking of words, and I don't know who I spoke with that told me this, but we say spelling. Does that, when we spell a word, is that because you're saying words have more than meaning, right? They actually carry almost like a character.
Yes, that was Kevin. When we were on with Jennifer and Kevin,
Mm-hmm.
and
was he the one who mentioned to me
we
about
were
the
talking-
spelling? Spells.
Yes, he said the word spell.
Yeah.
And of course, what is a spell? A spell is putting somebody under like hypnotic.
Mm-hmm.
So think about that. That's a dual meaning of one word.
Spelling. Oh,
But
well.
you understand what I just said?
Yeah.
Spell and spelling
Yeah.
are hypnotic. And many words are just like that. And Kevin was the one that actually brought that up.
Yeah, I couldn't remember who. Thank you, Kevin, because I couldn't remember. And thank you for telling me, because I couldn't remember who the heck it was.
But, I mean, that goes so deep. All of these words, look, there's a Hebrew word, and people know it and speak it every day and don't know that they're speaking a word, abracadabra. Well, that is a Hebrew word.
Yeah, what that means, I can or I will or something? Or
you
that?
said it, haven't you?
I don't remember the meaning. So what was the meaning? I can and I will or something if I can?
It means like a magician, a trick.
Yeah. Yeah, but the meaning is out of that which something, I don't know. Yeah, but it's like a magician's trick, yes.
Yeah, because in Hebrew it means, hey, whatever I speak will become.
That's what I was getting at. Whatever I speak will become. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's basically, it's biblical. I speak it, and then it became. But people are saying it all day, and it has become like a magical trick. And you've heard it a million times. Abracadabra, open the door, or whatever.
Yep.
So words have etymologies to them, and we don't know the deeper cores until we start reading them. It's like chemistry. When you see the word or the letters H2O, you know that it means hydrogen and oxygen, but you don't need to see the whole words written out. You see H2O and you know what it means.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Hebrew is like that too. Every letter is a word, and every word has words within the letters. Do you understand? So each letter gives another full or each word gives a full paragraph. It's just so interesting. And there's just so much. We could just go down this rabbit hole and come out the other end.
Languages have always, I've always, since I was young, learning about languages, I've always believed that had to be an outside source bringing all the different languages in. Because, for example, if you look at something like the way they write Chinese or Japanese, it's like hieroglyphics almost. And if you look at the Chinese people and the Japanese people and the Korean people, their eyes are of a certain way. They're not the same as like European people or Middle Eastern people. And then you look at the complexion of Middle Eastern people versus European people. So I've always believed that there's been outside influence all along in humanity. And then as I got older and we find out about our DNA and we have this, quote, junk DNA, they just don't know what to do with it. They don't know what to do with it. That's why they call it junk DNA. I bet you it's nothing. It's anything but junk.
You got that right. It leads to a whole different platform. And I would love to do a show right now we're so based in politics. When I first joined with you, or with you and Michael, I thought we were going to talk nonstop about extraterrestrial. But once the Trump train landed from the sky here, we've been on board with him for good reason, because we're trying to save our country.
Yeah, amen.
But, eventually we will get back. And I do want to tell you that just bouncing real quick back to words, pharmacy is another word that came from pharmakia, which is in Greek. I mean, that's witchcraft.
Wow.
So what does that tell you?
And that's what they do. What they do is witchcraft. Their brews are nothing but harm people. You know, nothing but hurt people.
So we're gonna continue with different shows together. I hope, Riscalla. I really mean it. But I do need to speak to you, and I'm thrilled to have been a part of this, and I appreciate you.
No, I love it.
Michael and everybody that's helped me along the way.
All right. Well, make sure you get a hold of me over the weekend so we can discuss some specifics about getting you on the air if you want to get on Monday, because I got some things we have to do. And and we'll go from there. But thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything that you do, for the knowledge that you spread, for the time that you spend, and that you invest with me. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. God bless you.
And God bless you. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. And God bless Late Night in the Midlands.
Amen. All right, my friends, we're rounding it down. Before I go, I want to say thank you to each of you who have subscribed to Late Night in the Midlands. Without you, there would be no us. And if you would please tell your friends about us, what we do here. We would love to have more people here. We would love to get some more subscribers so we can do some things that are very necessary for us to do, upgrades and things of that nature. And please remember, when I ask you to do something, it's something that I don't do. It's not something that I don't do myself. I ask you to subscribe. I am a subscriber. I have been a subscriber from the very beginning because I believe in what we're doing here. And I want to hope that you would believe in it as well. Anyway, this has been the Red Pill Reality Show, and I'm trying to find the magic button here. Here we go. And we'll be back in about a week or so. God knows what'll happen between now and then, huh? Good night, everybody.
Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.